Today we have a recently released Hindi movie Shaitan, which is a remake of a Gujarati movie Vash. At the beginning of the movie we see a dead rat, and a strange-looking guy keeps it in a plastic bag. Then scene shifts to a family of 4 with father named Kabir, mother named Jyoti, daughter named Janvi, and son named Dhruv. While riding with her father, Janvi says that she wants to go on a trip to Ladakh with her friends. Kabir wasn't sure if the decision was good or bad and was in doubt, but Janvi kept on requesting, so he gives in and allows her to go to the trip. But Kabir had some rules. She had to introduce her friends to Kabir before going off to the trip and also give him their phone number, and another rule was Janvi always had to share her live location with her family. Before going to the trip, the entire family decided to go in a family trip to their farmhouse. On their way, they stop on a restaurant for lunch. They order naan roti, but Janvi refuses to eat them as it had a lot of butter. Kabir ordered tea, but he didn't have 20 rupees cash. Then a stranger buys a cup of tea for himself and also buys for Kabir's family. Kabir invites the stranger to their table, and the stranger introduces himself by the name of Vanraj. He starts talking with them, but for some reason Vanraj says that he will eat Janvi's portion of naan roti and she could have his sweet. Janvi was very happy about the offer, and she eats the sweet right away. But while eating the sweet, Janvi feels weird. Then Vanraj tells her to eat the butter naan, and surprisingly she eats the entire piece, without complaining. The family then decides to continue on their journey, but Vanraj calls Janvi, gives her a biscuit, and tells her to eat it right after reaching their farmhouse. And Janvi shakes her head in her response. This was also weird because Janvi was always a wild child and she had never obeyed anyone before. But for some reason she was following Vanraj's order. Right after reaching the farmhouse, she eats the biscuit as instructed by Vanraj. Next day the entire family was enjoying their time in their farmhouse, but suddenly, Jyoti realizes that the stranger named Vanraj was outside their farmhouse's door. She informs Kabir about it, and before Kabir could react, we see Janvi has already invited Vanraj into their farmhouse. Vanraj says that his mobile is dead and he just wants to call his daughter back home. Kabir finds it weird, but he allows him. We also see that Vanraj was keeping an eye on Janvi and she was following his every orders. The mother wasn't happy about the uninvited guest, but Kabir says that he just needs some help and he will leave after some time. He promises that he will also keep an eye on him. We see Janvi talking with Vanraj, and she tells him about her boyfriend and their trip to Ladakh. Vanraj then grins and says, "You won't be able to go to the trip as you are going with me." He makes her agree with him, but for some reason she was getting compelled to agree with him. Her brother, Dhruv, kept on throwing ball at Janvi and was requesting to play with him. Vanraj instructs Janvi to play with Dhruv in such a way that he will never request her to play with him again. Janvi then goes to play with Dhruv on a swing, and she swings the swing violently. Dhruv gets petrified by her action and starts screaming. Their mother Jyoti hears the scream and rushes towards him. Somehow Kabir and Jyoti separate Janvi from Dhruv, and now Dhruv was lightheaded. Kabir gets angry at Janvi and yells at her. Vanraj then instructs Janvi, "Janvi, apologize to your father." Janvi then suddenly apologizes to her father. While having dinner, Vanraj keeps on interfering in their family matters. He also says, "I know everything about your family." He then instructs Janvi to call her boyfriend and break up with him, and she does so accordingly. Now this makes the parents very terrified. Kabir then sternly tells Vanraj to leave the house. But Vanraj didn't comply. He kept on refusing, so Kabir grabs Vanraj's hand and starts dragging him towards the door. But Janvi gets in between them and suddenly starts arguing with her father, saying, "Uncle doesn't have to leave." She even pushes her father and starts behaving like a maniac. She also says that it is very important for me to follow Uncle's orders. Vanraj says that he has hypnotized Janvi with his black magic. Now she will do everything that he wishes. As a demo, Vanraj instructs Janvi to sit down and stand up. He does this again and again. He tells her to smile, laugh, and then cry. After seeing her daughter's condition, Jyoti feels helpless and cries. She asks Vanraj, "What exactly do you want from us?" Vanraj tells every one of them to bring their phones, tablets in front of him. He instructs Janvi to break every single one of them. Vanraj even instructs Janvi to eat tea leaves and slap her father. Vanraj makes Janvi massage his feet. He tells everyone that he will take Janvi with him. He wants them to give him Janvi as an offering. Only then Janvi can go with him. Even though he can take her even without permission, but in future there is a risk that the hypnotic bond could break, so her parents must offer her to Vanraj. He says that the parents must say, "We offer Janvi to you till her lifetime." Kabir isn't ready about the idea and is furious even by the thought of it. Vanraj, in a spiteful grin, says, "I love when people beg for mercy in front of me." He then kicks Janvi on her face. Kabir now attacks Vanraj. Vanraj then instructs Janvi to break her brother's head, and she does accordingly. Then we see police approaching the house because Jyoti had dialed the helpline. Now, as the police enters the house, we see that everyone starts behaving like a family because Vanraj had instructed Janvi to sit on gas cylinder, leaving its outlets open, and she had matchstick on her hand. If Kabir and Jyoti dared to speak a word in front of the police, Janvi would set herself on fire. They somehow convince the police and make them leave the house. Now Vanraj is angrier than before. Kabir promises to give Vanraj his house, his property, in return for his daughter. But Vanraj sets Kabir's money on fire. So it was clear that Vanraj doesn't care about money and he only wants Janvi. He says, "I don't have greed, less like humans, I am way ahead of them. And this dark night is for me." He utters some words, and it hinted towards the idea that he will be more powerful in few hours. Vanraj then starts torturing Janvi in front of everyone. He makes Janvi slap herself, violently dance without stopping. He makes her guard him with a knife. At one point, Janvi even urinates in her pants. Jyoti then changes her clothes for her. Jyoti takes the advantage of the situation and takes the knife from Janvi's hand and attacks Vanraj. Then we see a huge fight with Janvi Vanraj on one side and Jyoti and Kabir on the other. Kabir then ties Janvi and overpowers Vanraj. Vanraj instructs Janvi to loudly laugh and she does the same. Now Kabir has to release Vanraj from his hold because even if he kills Vanraj, Janvi won't stop laughing ever. Vanraj then increases his brutality and instructs Janvi to kill her brother. Janvi grabs the knife and goes to attack her brother. Their parents try to stop Janvi. Janvi tries to emotionally manipulate her parents and starts looking for her brother. Dhruv was hiding. After a lot of searching, she finds Dhruv hiding in their attic. She then throws Dhruv from the terrace. Kabir and Jyoti rush to their son, and he was very critical. Now they have no choice but to offer Janvi to Vanraj. They do so, and Vanraj leaves and takes Janvi with him. Kabir tells his wife Jyoti to take his son to the hospital, and he himself goes after Janvi. Previously, when they were fighting, Kabir had sneaked Janvi's phone and had enabled her location. Now he can easily track Janvi's location. Then we see Vanraj performing some ritual in his place. He had hypnotized many girls like Janvi. He says, "Today I will give freedom to all of you." He prepares everyone, and we see that every one of them were hypnotized. We see a huge fireplace with burning fire, and Vanraj was planning to sacrifice every single one of the girls in the same fire. Kabir gets to the place and gets attacked by some girls who were guarding the place for Vanraj. Kabir fights every single one of them and goes near the fireplace. Now Vanraj rituals were disturbed by Kabir, and some of the girls drag Kabir and take him to Vanraj. Vanraj now confesses. After sacrifice all the girls, he will be invincible and become so powerful that just by looking at their eyes he can easily hypnotize them and he won't have to feed them anything. "I will become God and make people worship me." We get to know that he wants to control the entire world. Then he continues with his ritual. He brings out black magic dolls and throws them one at a time into the fire. And we see that slowly the girl starts moving towards the fire. He had many black dolls and one single red doll. As he was about to throw the last red doll in fire, Kabir attacks him with burning woods, and before Vanraj could speak a word, Kabir cuts his tongue and throws it into the fire. Now the girls start attacking Kabir. Then we hear Vanraj's voice. He says, "Now all of you are free from my hypnosis. Now all of you go back to being normal. I now grant you complete freedom." Now we see the twist. All this time Kabir had a phone on recording inside his pocket and was recording everything. One time in their farmhouse, Vanraj had sarcastically said to Kabir, "You want me to free you all so that everyone becomes normal?" Kabir had edited the audio with the help of his son. And he had played the same audio clip in front of everyone. Now Janvi was also free. In the next scene we see police, and we also get to know that there were 108 girls, and in Hinduism the number 108 has a great significance. Scene shifts and we see that all the girls have returned to their home. Janvi, Jyoti, Dhruv, everyone seemed happy. Then time skips to 1 year. We see the first scene where someone was carrying the dead rat in a plastic bag. It was no one but Kabir. We see that he goes deep into the forest to an underground basement. He now has trapped Vanraj and feeds him dead rat and tea leaves. He also says that parents can go to any extremes for their children. Children are their gods. We can also understand that now for Vanraj, Kabir is the Shaitan, that means devil, that will punish him for his sins. This is the ending of the movie. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.